we go into Canada one day. And we get there early before the Johnny Cash show comes across. They come across separate.
Harold and I found that we loved music, and we were big into Southern gospel quartets, and we bought all the records.
When Harold Reid passed away on April 24th, 2020 at age 80, something felt different about the tributes that followed. While the world celebrated the bass singer of the Statler Brothers and his incredible comedy, there was a deeper story that folks in Staunton, Virginia had known for decades.
And Harold had broken a butter dish, and I told on him, and he got in trouble when we were kids.
And the judge says, well, you see what you've done wrong. You should have declared it. And he explained it to us. And he said, now, who owns the merchandise?
A story about what really mattered to this country music legend. A story that challenges everything we think we know about success in Nashville. See, Harold Reid did something that almost no one in country music ever does. And when you hear what it was, you'll understand why his bandmate Jimmy Fortune said he had lived a truly blessed life. Harold Wilson Reid was born on August 21st, 1939, in Augusta County, Virginia. His parents, Sidney Boxley Reid and Mary Frances Cron, worked as aides at a psychiatric hospital. Nothing about Harold's childhood screamed future stardom.
The second time he raised his hand, it had a badge in it. And he said, I'm with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
We learned how to sing from that, and we learned how to write from that.
Okay, I own the merchandise. He said, then you'll have to stay in jail tonight.
He grew up in Staunton, a small town in the Shenandoah Valley, with his younger brother Don and two other siblings. But Harold had something special. At just 16 years old in 1955, he started performing with two high school friends. Phil Balsley sang baritone, Lou DeWitt handled tenor and guitar, and Harold took the bass position. They called themselves the Four Star Quartet and sang gospel music in local churches around Staunton, Waynesboro, and the surrounding areas. The group went through some changes. Joe McDorman joined them for a while as lead singer. Then, in 1960, Harold's younger brother Don replaced McDorman, and things started clicking. They changed their name to the Kingsmen and kept playing that gospel country blend they loved. Here's where it gets interesting. In 1963, a garage rock band also called the Kingsmen released a song called Louie Louie that became huge. Harold and his group knew they needed a new name fast. According to the story Harold told for years, they were sitting in a hotel room when someone spotted a box of Statler tissues. Just like that, they became the Statler Brothers. Harold used to joke that they could just as easily have been called the Kleenex Brothers. And here's the kicker. Only two of them were actually brothers, Harold and Don, and none of them had the last name Statler. But naming themselves after facial tissues was nothing compared to what happened next. In 1964, Johnny Cash came to Roanoke, Virginia for a show. Harold Reid, never one to miss an opportunity, approached the man in black after his performance. He reportedly told Cash that he really should hear their quartet sing. Now, most stars would brush off some unknown local singer backstage, but Cash was different. A few days later, the Statler Brothers found themselves opening for Johnny Cash in Berryville, Virginia. And here's the remarkable part. Cash never even heard them perform before that night. He just took Harold's word for it. On March 1st, 1964, the Statler Brothers officially joined Johnny Cash's roadshow. That partnership would last 8.5 years. Cash helped them get their first recording contract. They sang backup for him on records and on his ABC television series. The Statlers even provided vocals for Cash's song, Daddy Sang Bass. Years later, they'd write, We Got Paid by Cash, as a tribute to the man who discovered them. Their first single, The Ballad of Billy Christian, didn't exactly set the world on fire. But a disc jockey in Kansas City flipped the record over and started playing the B-side instead. That song was Flowers on the Wall. The track hit number 2 on the country charts in 1965. Those memorable opening lines became instantly recognizable. Harold's deep bass voice anchored the whole thing. The song won them their first Grammy Award, beating out the Beatles and the Supremes that year. Think about that for a second. A group named after tissues from a small Virginia town beat out the Beatles. But success brought something unexpected. As the Statlers started climbing the charts, as the money started flowing in, as Nashville started calling, Harold Reid made a decision that would define the rest of his life. He said no. Well, not to the success, but to what usually comes with it. Most country music stars who hit it big pack up and move to Nashville. It's practically a requirement. The networking, the recording sessions, the business meetings, everything happens in Music City. But Harold had married his sweetheart, Brenda Lee Armstrong, back on October 15, 1960, when he was just 21 years old. They were building a life in Staunton, and Harold never left. Neither did Don Reed or Phil Balsley. Sure, they recorded in Nashville. They did business there when they had to, but their base of operations stayed in Staunton, Virginia. They lived in their hometown, raised their families there, went to church there. In 1980, the Statler Brothers even bought and renovated their old elementary school, Beverly Manor, and turned it into their office complex. They stored their 2 tour buses in a garage they built on the property. Harold and Brenda raised 5 children together, 4 daughters named Kim, Carmen, Cody, and Casey, plus a son named Will. 10 grandchildren followed, then 9 great-grandchildren, all while Harold was touring the country and becoming one of the most recognized voices in country music. The hits kept coming through the 1970s and 1980s. Bed of Roses in 1970, The Class of '57 in 1972, which won them another Grammy. Do You Remember These tapped into small-town nostalgia in a way that resonated with millions of fans. In 1978, Do You Know You Are My Sunshine hit #1 on the Billboard Country Chart. Then came Elizabeth in 1984, followed by My Only Love and Too Much on My Heart in 1985. All #1 hits. From 1965 to 1989, the Statler Brothers placed 58 songs in country music's top 40. That's more than the Beatles had in pop music. They had 32 top 10 hits, one more than the Beatles. 4 songs hit #1. They won 3 Grammy Awards and 9 Country Music Association Awards for Vocal Group of the Year. But Harold Reid's greatest talent might not have been his bass singing at all. He was a comedian, a natural one. Throughout their career, much of the Statlers' appeal came from Harold's humor and stage presence. Jimmy Fortune, who joined the group in 1982, said he never got tired of watching Harold perform. The same jokes, told hundreds of times, still got huge laughs. Harold had audiences eating out of the palm of his hand. The group recorded 2 comedy albums under the pseudonym Lester Roadhog Moran and the Cadillac Cowboys. Harold played Roadhog, the leader and MC of a fictional small-town radio show. The 1974 album, Alive at the Johnny Mack Brown High School, became a cult classic. It parodied the kind of small radio station Saturday morning shows that used to be everywhere in rural America. The humor was subtle and layered. Harold's character would make snarky remarks, then immediately follow up with, "Old Roadhog was just funnin' ya." He even appeared on the Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters TV show, where he parodied Richard Dawson as a character called Richie Kissy. In another skit, Harold and Don dressed up as Barbara's sisters, complete with fake breasts that Harold complained about on camera. Louise Mandrell said years later that they always looked forward to the Statlers visiting because of Harold's comedy. In the 1990s, the Statler Brothers show ran on the Nashville network for 7 years. It was the network's top-rated program for its entire run. Harold designed all their matching stage costumes in the early days. He co-wrote countless hit songs with his brother, including Class of '57 and his solo composition, Bed of Roses. And through it all, Harold came home to Staunton. In 1970, the Statler Brothers started something that would become legendary in its own right. They began hosting a free 4th of July concert in Gypsy Hill Park in Staunton. They called it Happy Birthday USA. For 25 years, they invited country music friends to join them on stage. Folks like Johnny Cash, Mel Tillis, Charlie Pride, and many others. The event drew as many as 100,000 fans each year. People would spread blankets across the grass, pack picnics, and spend Independence Day listening to country music with Harold cracking jokes between songs. The Statlers even recorded a song called Staunton, Virginia in 1973, a horn-infused tribute to their hometown. They never forgot where they came from. More importantly, they never left. In 1996, a Harris poll asked Americans to rank their favorite singers. The Statler Brothers came in second place. The only act ahead of them was Frank Sinatra. They beat out performers from every genre of music. Kurt Vonnegut called them America's poets. But here's what makes Harold Reid's story truly remarkable. In 1982, Lou DeWitt, the original tenor, had to retire because of Crohn's disease. The condition had been sapping his energy for years. Jimmy Fortune, another Virginian, replaced him permanently. DeWitt passed away in 1990 at age 52 from complications related to heart and kidney disease. The years started taking their toll on all of them. Harold battled cancer at some point. His brother Don had heart surgery. Phil Balsley dealt with health issues related to his condition. And Harold's kidneys began failing. In 2002, after nearly 40 years together, the Statler brothers made an announcement. They were retiring. Not because of some huge fight or scandal or creative differences. They wanted to go home and spend time with their families. Even though they already lived in Staunton, the constant touring had kept them away too much. On October 26, 2002, they played their farewell concert at the Salem Civic Center near their hometown. The 10,000-seat venue was packed. They performed all their old hits, did their classic comedy routines, and their families sat in the audience. Then they walked off stage for the last time. Unlike so many acts who announce retirement and then keep coming back for more money and adoration, the Statlers meant it. They were done. And that's when the truth about Harold Reid really started to show. He'd spent almost 18 years in retirement before he passed away in 2020. 18 years of sitting on his front porch in Staunton. 18 years of watching his grandchildren grow up. 18 years of going to church at Olivet Presbyterian with Brenda. 18 years of being part of his community, showing up at local events, living a normal life. Harold once told the Staunton news leader that sometimes he literally had to pinch himself. He'd sit on his beautiful front porch and wonder if his career had really happened or if he just dreamed it all. Jimmy Fortune talked to Harold a few weeks before he passed. Harold told him, "I've been a blessed man. I'm ready to go whenever the Lord calls me." They reminisced about the old days and laughed a lot. Fortune said even while Harold was fighting kidney failure, he kept making people laugh, right up until the end. On April 24, 2020, surrounded by his wife and children, Harold Reid passed away at his home in Staunton. He was 80 years old. That same year, his wife Brenda would tell people that Harold had lived almost 6 decades there through all the fame and success, and he'd loved every minute of it. Think about what Harold Reid turned down: Nashville parties, industry connections, the chance to be where everything happens. Most artists would say you can't make it without being in the mix, without being seen, without playing the game. Harold proved them wrong. The Statler Brothers were inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame in 2007 and the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2008. The Country Music Association named them Vocal Group of the Year 9 times. They maintained one of country music's top grossing road shows for more than 30 years. They've been called one of the most awarded acts in the history of country music. And Harold did it all while living in the same small Virginia town where he grew up, while raising 5 kids with his high school sweetheart, while being part of his community's 4th of July celebrations and church potlucks and local events. After Harold passed, the city of Staunton held a wreath-laying ceremony at the Statler Brothers Tribute Monument in the Wharf Area Historic District. His wife Brenda, who had been by his side for 59 years, attended. City council members came. Hundreds of people showed up to honor a man who'd never forgotten his hometown because he'd never left it. Here's what the truth about Harold Reid finally tells us. Success doesn't have to mean sacrificing everything else. Fame doesn't require abandoning your roots. You can be one of the biggest names in country music and still coach Little League, still attend church on Sunday, still know your neighbors by name. Harold's son Will and Don's son Langdon formed their own duo in the 1990s, first called Grandstaff and later Wilson Fairchild. They picked up where their fathers left off, hosting Happy Birthday America celebrations in Staunton. Harold's daughters Kim and Carmen even had a brief stint as a country duo in the early 1980s, appearing on Hee Haw. The music continues. The legacy lives on. But more than that, Harold Reid showed us something powerful. He proved you could have it all, the career, the family, the community, the normalcy, if you're willing to make unconventional choices and stick to what matters. When Harold's obituary was published, it ended with a line that captured his spirit perfectly. It said that when he met his Lord and Savior, he probably exclaimed, "We ain't even started yet." Even facing eternity, Harold Reid was still the comedian, still finding the joy, still making people smile. 4 years after Harold passed, in February 2024, Brenda Reid him. She was 84 years old. Friends remembered her sweet tea, her round steak and gravy, her homemade pies, her German chocolate cake, and her incredibly spicy hamburger chili. She devoted the vast majority of her life to her husband and children, attending that same church where Harold sang gospel music as a teenager. So what's the truth about Harold Reid that finally came out? It's simple, really. He understood something that a lot of people in the music industry never figure out. Success is meaningless if you lose everything that made life worth living in the first place. Harold Reid could have moved to Nashville. He could have played the industry game. He could have networked and schmoozed and positioned himself for even bigger opportunities. Instead, he chose breakfast with his grandkids. He chose Sunday services at his hometown church. He chose sitting on that front porch with Brenda, the girl he married when he was 21 years old. And you know what? He still became a legend. He still made it to the Hall of Fame. He still touched millions of lives with his music and his humor. The difference is, he got to do it all while being present for the moments that actually mattered. That's the truth about Harold Reid. That's the secret nobody talks about in Nashville. That's the lesson his life teaches us. You don't have to choose between your dreams and your family. You don't have to sacrifice your values for success. You don't have to leave home to make it big. You just have to be talented enough, dedicated enough, and brave enough to do it your own way. Harold Reid was all three. And Staunton, Virginia, population around 25,000, got to keep one of country music's greatest treasures for 80 beautiful years. So what do you think? Could more artists today follow Harold Reid's example? Or does the music industry require sacrifices that Harold somehow managed to avoid? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed learning about Harold Reid's incredible life, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into country music history. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the biggest success is knowing when to come home.